Hi, I'm Michael Wan, your host for Michael Wan's Op-Ed Live, and this is John Yee, who is the president of the Korean American Democratic Committee, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so our show Op-Ed Live is not about left or right, it's about right or wrong. So let's talk about Young Kim's race. So American Republican congressional candidate Young Kim, who was poised to be the first Korean American woman in Congress, is accusing her opponent of harassing and intimidating vote counters as her lead has disappeared. Kim is vying to replace retiring Representative Ed Royce in California's 39th district, which includes part of the state's more Republican Orange County. Last week, she held about a 3-point lead over Democrat Gil Cisneros, with about 150,000 votes counted. But since then, that lead had virtually vanished, with Cisneros taking a 941 vote as of late Thursday. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're seeing is a lot of vote-by-mail ballots being counted, and usually those always, not always, but usually tend to be more left-leaning and progressive. And so I think what you're seeing is just a larger trend that's going on in this country where you're seeing traditionally red districts turn blue as sort of a referendum on this president and what's been going on.
But why do you think it's taking this long? I've never seen an election take this long. A week ago, Young Kim had a pretty steady lead, 3% lead, and now they're counting the vote by mails. It's been already a week, and the report that I got was they finished counting the VBMs, and now they're jumping into provisional votes. But I'm not even sure about that. Probably they're still continuing the VBMs. But I just don't understand why it's taking this long.
Well, I think this is not normal. I think, especially after elections...
But it didn't take this much last time around.
Well, if you have a tight race, especially this tight, where you had a district that's been traditionally red, but then in the 2016 election swung, at least during the presidential election, to blue. And so if you have a district that's sort of in this kind of transition, I think you're bound to get a pretty tight and close race. And so, I mean... very rarely do you have races this close that are known by election night. I mean, a lot of the districts where we know there's a clear winner, we know it the day after. But for races like this, I think it does take time to count.
I think if current trend holds, Gil is going to be the winner.
That's correct, yeah.
I don't think provisional votes, I don't see a lot, the trend suddenly changing back to red. Because, like you said, the young voters tend to vote late on election day. We haven't seen this many vote-by-mail sent on the election day. I've never seen it. And usually the seniors, the older voters, they tend to vote in advance. And according to that logic, then probably Young Kim, I mean, she's losing now, and she might end up becoming a loser if she can't change this trend. I
mean, it's a historic race, right? We had the largest turnout in a midterm year election in our country's history. So I think, I mean, this just reflects what's going on right now.
So I wanted to ask you a question. How come the KADC, Korean American Democratic Committee, they came out and endorsed Gil Cisneros, even though we see a Korean candidate here in Orange County?
Sure. So I mean,
you know that Koreans were desperate to have a representative and have a voice.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the KADC came out to endorse Gil Cisneros primarily. First, he's a Democrat, right? We're a Democratic club, so by function, we support Democrats. And a part of that is we need to find candidates that reflect our issues and reflect our community. And, Young Kim is Korean American. I can't take that away from her. And, if she were to have become a congresswoman, it would have been historic. I acknowledge that as well. But really, our club and our committee had to really grapple with what are the issues that reflect our community and to make sure we had candidates that reflected that. And so for us, Gil was the candidate. But, I mean, we did have a victory with Andy Kim in New Jersey, so we still have a Korean American in Congress now.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, when you see like Hispanic, like Loud Opinion, or these Hispanic press members, press or newspapers or broadcasting companies, they tend to withhold their endorsement when they have their own race running, and especially when we didn't have a representative for 20 years, I felt KADC probably should have held back in this kind of particular race. It's not like you must have much more rapport. I know some KADC members, they have rapport with Young Kim and her husband and what have you. But I don't think they had any deep relationship with Gil Cisneros. I mean, he's a lottery winner, $266 million. I don't know any Korean American here who had like close relationship with him or have been very active in his campaign. So that was my curiosity. And I was wondering, I thought KADC probably would have been better for KADC to withhold their endorsement on this particular race.
So I think you're hitting on a really important issue and something that we're grappling as an organization. I think as a community, right? I mean, do we go for someone that reflects our values and our morals, or do we go for someone that is Korean and reflects physically our community? Or and ideally, we want to find both in one candidate. But to be honest, when it comes to KADC, a lot of our membership, especially with the younger generation, upcoming second generation Korean Americans, for us, issues are just as important too. And having a face there is important as well, but making sure you support issues when it comes to immigration. She said some comments in our campaign that really painted lines between good and bad immigrants, which was pretty...
Well, what kind? Because she had a different stance with President Trump, so I don't understand when you were talking about, your immigration... Her immigration policy differs from what you want.
Well, words matter, and I would remind you that during her campaign, she did make a distinction between good and bad immigrants, and she talked about her story as being a story of good immigrants, and with that comes the premise that there are bad immigrants.
Oh, of course there are. A lot of them.
I mean, sure, there's people...
We see Kate Steinle case and Jamal Shaw. Do you know these people? Angel moms and angel dads. These are illegal immigrants.
I'm sure we, I'm sure we could bring up. I'm sure we could bring up examples, but I mean, sure, we could bring up smaller examples. But what
me as a legal resident here, I had to go through process. They have to recheck interviews. But these people, we don't know,
But let's observe.
The Democratic Party having a position where it's like open borders. They want all of them pouring it in.
That's not the position.
That's not the position then. But that's what Young Kim has been saying.
But let me say this though. Right? You can bring up small examples to show that there are bad immigrants out there. I mean, two dozen cases you can bring into the table. But in the context, if you look at the larger context of where we're having a conversation in this country about immigrants.
I would say the feeling is different because between legal and illegal, it seems like one too many. And there are tons of them. We know that there are so many illegals. I know a lot of them. And of course,
Korean American communities is the highest number.
Some of them are trying to follow the law. I mean, they did break the law coming in, overspeed. They have visa overstay. We have people pouring in from south, the Mexican border. But I don't think it's good for the American society to keep on having this kind of influx.
So we could have the debate about immigration, but let me come back to this though. When you're a part of a community, the Korean American community, where we have the highest number of DACA recipients of youth, Korean Americans of all Asian American people, but we have the highest number of DACA recipients. But then if you're part of that community and you come out saying there's good and bad immigrants, and the bad immigrants are those who came here illegally, that are undocumented, you're drawing an arbitrary line and creating hostility.
I don't think Young Kim said that though.
Well, in the campaign video, she did say that.
Young Kim
drew a marker.
Good people and there are bad people. I mean, even citizens, we have good people and bad people.
I get that.
She was drawing a line there, but she did say she supports chain migration. And I don't think she said anything inflammatory.
Again, by making those broad...
what I think is, I think the mainstream media has been portraying even President Trump's policy too. He even offered DACA students. You don't know?
No, yeah.
He offered 2.8 million, 3 million, more than double of what Obama offered. He wanted to, give them a pathway to citizenship, like a 10-year period. And instead of that, Trump wanted a border wall, but Democrats wanted to play politics, and they didn't want to play that game.
But again, going back to Young Kim, though, because I know we're talking about Young Kim right now. Okay. Again, when she make that arbitrary line, I get it. You can look in the framework. There's good and bad immigrants, right? There's good ones who do crime. I mean, there are bad ones who do crime. But if you look at it in the context of the community she's trying to represent and where she's talking from, making that arbitrary line, you're gonna end up hurting people that you probably weren't intending to hurt, and those are people from our community.
No, but that is that is a very blurry thing. If you say
definitely, it's very blurry. Exactly. Just because it is blurry, she shouldn't make that kind of arbitrary distinction. That's precisely my point.
What I'm saying is, I think Young Kim is recognizing that it is a serious problem. I do think that it's a serious problem. I do think that also the Democratic Party, they don't think that it's a serious problem. When I look at their policies, they consider ICE like KKK. Did you see the interview yesterday? The hearing between Senator Kamala Harris and the ICE.
Oh no, I missed that one.
Yeah, she was trying to draw the line where it says pretty much if you're an ICE supporter, you're an KKK supporter. It's pretty much the same thing. To me, that's complete insanity. And this is what's going on in the Democratic Party in California. I think the California Democratic Party is completely living in a different Democratic Party compared to other states? I've been to other states. I talked with a lot of Democrats.
Well, because we're a community of immigrants, and so for us, we feel these things a lot deeper.
Being a legal immigrant.
Oh, we're still.
I take it personally. I feel personally offended when people try to put legal immigrants together in the box with illegal immigrants. That's what LA Times does. That's what New York Times does. They don't even use the word illegals anymore. They say immigrants, undocumented. Undocumented, okay, but don't.
Well, let me tell you this.
Don't put me or legal immigrants here in the same box as illegals, because we are definitely
let me say this.
In a different
I
line.
grew up in church, in a Korean church. My father's a pastor. So in my church, there are undocumented Korean Americans, and there are documented Korean Americans. So for me to walk into that church and say that somehow we are not of the same community, that we're not one community, and that our values are not reflective and not the same is preposterous. I understand there's legally there's a distinction.
When Young Kim was mentioned,
legally there is a distinction. I understand that, but then when you're running in a campaign, right, and you're making these broad remarks and trying to make a division between that is when people get hurt. That is when you have.
So I understand why she mentioned that, because we definitely do have a problem. It's like, if we don't acknowledge the problem, we are welcoming illegals. Bring in everybody all over the place, not just Mexico.
I don't think anyone is saying that.
I mean, that's pretty much the signal that I'm getting. If I read the paper in a probably third world country, and I say, hey, I'm just going to go to America and just overstay there, or just hide there somewhere and try to live there. And I don't think it's good for the society of America. Do you know how much California spends on illegal immigrants per year?
I have no idea.
It's close to $1 trillion per year. I mean, it's the number is just staggering. And I think that is putting a lot of strain to regular folks in the state. And I don't think it's a positive thing. Of course, I'm saying, there are illegal immigrants, undocumented, who is trying to abide by the law, and I want them to try to have a pathway to be legalized. But just because Young Kim mentioned that there are some issues here doesn't mean that it's Trump campaign. He was talking about Kate Steinle issue and Jamil Shah and these angel moms and angel dads, people we're talking about who got deported 21 times, came back the 22nd time, and do murder people and rape people because we have these issues. But it seems like the Democratic Party, they don't want to acknowledge this issue.
So you're right. This is a very complex issue, and I think we should have. I think it's a complex issue, and that for that very reason, she should not have made that very generalized remark.
Immigration is a big issue.
No, it's a political shot she made to show that she's a good immigrant, and she came from a good immigrant sort of process. And then,
why is that a political shot?
Because when you're assuming that, you asked me a question on that. Because when you're saying that I came the right way, you're implying that there are those who came the wrong way. Yeah. And look, people can equate coming here without documents as coming here the wrong way. But the reality, what we have in California, is a vastly large population who are undocumented. Yeah. And so the only option is what? I mean, by making that castigation, what you're literally saying is these entire groups of people are wrong and bad. But is that the kind of climate we want? Is that the climate we can have a conversation about immigration? But can we have a conversation, an actual civil conversation about immigration when you're calling these people bad?
So
you can't. It's not possible.
You are deciphering
it's the framework
statement in that way.
It's the way she framed the conversation.
I didn't decipher it that way. I deciphered about what she said. She was talking about illegal immigrants who are causing, like for MS-13, these kind of people. I'm not talking about the regular folks. I know so many people who are undocumented. I'm not talking about those people, trying to be law-abiding.
Her ad was talking about those people.
No, I don't think so. Come on.
Well, that's where we differ then. That's where we differ. Her ad was talking about those people.
Because she's a Republican, you just want to push her to that. Did she literally say that? I have yet to hear her say,
I've heard
I don't like undocumented people here. She never said that.
You tell me one person that comes out saying...
I don't think she said that.
She was implying that.
How do you know that?
In a race where, in the context of what's going on in the national level, to the district makeup as being it was predominantly Republican, and so that is what's being implied.
Do you support that California should never mention about illegal immigrants committing crime or anything? We should just.
Oh, I never said that. I never said that.
But I have yet to see the Democratic Party condemn them.
Well, look, you can't put all the whole entire Democratic Party on my shoulders.
That's what's happening. I think we can't criticize Young Kim just. She said to me clearly, I did an interview with her like two or three times, and she told me that her position of immigration policy is completely different from Donald Trump. That's what she told me, and she said she supports chain migration. She even supports the lottery, which Trump doesn't. And I understand why Trump doesn't.
Great. I mean, great. And and if she does support that, maybe.
So when I read the statement of KADC, and it criticized Young Kim of her making a blanket statement, criticizing. I didn't take it that way, but when people read the paper or they read the news or they watch the news and see KADC's statement, it seems like probably young Kim might have said something derogatory to undocumented. But I didn't take it that way. I watched her campaign ad and I read her statements. It didn't say anything.
I could tell you the number of calls we got of people who took it that way. Tone matters, and especially if you're running an election, if you're running a race, tone matters.
So we can differ on the immigration issue.
Sure.
What are the other issues? You don't like her, what other, transgender issue? Or what
well, yeah, issues with the transgender bathroom and the position she's took on the LGBT community. So those are also issues
so
that
you support the transgender position. That means like, currently in school, a student, if he's a boy, but he feels like he's a girl, so he can go to a girl restaurant, right? I mean, a girl restaurant, right?
So
that's going on right now, right?
Okay, correct. Yeah.
So what is your issue regarding Young Kim's position?
My issue is if you're a trans student and you believe that if you're a boy and you believe that you are a female, that is within your right. Yeah. And if you're a trans adult and if you feel like you are a female and you know you're a female and you want to go to the female bathroom, that is within your right. No one in politics or no one in government should tell you otherwise. There's been no incidents of anyone being hurt by allowing trans people to use the bathroom they wish. Mm-hmm. And so to come out otherwise and say these people...
Are you just drawing a line in the bathroom area, or are you also going up to like a sports team? There are
Look, there's areas where this will impact. I get that. And again, as a society, we need to figure out where that fits and how we can approach this. But the bottom line is these are people with rights. These are people who have an identity and a community.
So what did Young Kim say about the transgender issue?
Oh, she was against it.
To me, transgender issue is not I don't really put that the most important to me, more of the middle class. I put more.
But if you're a trans person, that's a life. That's a huge issue for them.
Probably, so, but what I'm saying is, I'm focusing more on the mass. So I wanted to know what was her position regarding transgender. Because when I interviewed her, she never mentioned about it. I didn't see it on her.
Did you ask her about it?
I did not.
Okay, well there we go. So for us, for me, it's an important issue. I mean, for Democrats, it's an important issue. She was opposed to allowing trans people to use the bathroom that they feel that they want to use.
So did you hear about this news around here in Wispa?
No.
They have like I've never been there before, so I don't know exactly. But
that seemed to bang down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a transgender man who went to the girls' room, and he thought he was a female. Okay, and so he went there, and one lady, she went to this Wispa with her daughter.
Yeah.
She didn't want her daughter to see a male, a transgender. He thinks that he's a she, so she didn't want her daughter to see the penis, hanging around like that. And this issue has become controversial.
So
it was in the paper.
Again, I am not here to adjudicate what people should do and should not do.
You think they should?
But I believe if you are a trans, you should be able to use the facilities that you believe designate with what you identify as.
So and again, it would be traumatizing for the girl who sees, just...
people said the same thing about when we had integrated bathrooms or integrated pools. I don't want my child to see someone who's African or who's black in pools.
No, I mean, that's a different thing.
How is that different?
A lot of black people hate that statement. They don't want... I met a lot of black people, they really hate it to equalize their civil rights to anything sexual.
I heard
think it's a completely different thing.
Look, there might be people who are against the comparison. I've heard, I'm gay, and I've heard the same thing. When I was talking about, LGBT marriage before it was legalized in the country, people said the same thing. Don't call it a civil rights issue, because it's not a civil rights issue. But let me tell you, if you are trans, and you're forced to not use a bathroom that you identify with, if you're treated as a second-class citizen, for you, it is a civil rights issue, and therefore it should be our civil rights issues.
So you don't see anything wrong about that Wispa situation when a transgender guy was...
Again, I'm not here to say what's right or wrong. I don't think I'm in the position.
Why do I keep on saying
it's fine. I'm not in the position. I'm not an owner. I mean, again, as a society, we need to norms and what we consider, part of society changes all the time. As we evolve, we discover people who have been oppressed, and we try to bring them into the fold. And so, as a society, we need to figure out how to approach it. So I'm not saying it's an easy question. I'm not saying there's an easy answer. Yeah. But I'm saying we need to tackle it with civil thought and with some decency. But calling other people saying that they don't belong here, they should get out, they're traumatizing people, that kind of rhetoric. Same thing about saying they're bad immigrants. That kind of rhetoric is damaging.
But what I don't understand is why do they think this bathroom issue is so important? To me, it's like, okay, why don't you just do your stuff and get out? You know what I'm saying? Like, Okay, so
So you tell me
I'm a guy. Okay,
yeah.
I'm giving you an example. I'm a guy, but I feel like I'm a girl, so I want to go to a girls' restroom, and do my thing there and get out. He could do it in a male's restroom.
But if you're a trans woman and you go, if you're a trans woman and you enter a men's room, you could be threatened. I mean, people can perceive you. If you're a trans woman,
you're talking about they might see you as a girl, so that person would feel uncomfortable being there. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, there's issues of trans people not even being able to go to the bathroom by themselves. They need a friend to go with them because there's safety issues. Because people feel like they don't belong in the same reaction.
Okay, because of they wear, right?
But not even just that. Like, if it is what you decide to do, and let's just say this: there has been no incident or report where someone who's trans came into a bathroom and hurt someone or did something terrible. Like, that is a blown out of proportion.
So were you supportive of North Carolina? So you know the North Carolina
the bathroom bill,
right?
Yeah.
The bathroom bill. It passed, and the governor signed it.
Mm-hmm.
But Obama administration threatened that they're going to pull all the federal funding.
Yeah.
So North Carolina caved. So in this case, you think Obama was correct, right?
Oh yeah, I definitely believe so.
So I think you and I have a different opinion.
Sure.
But I do understand your point since you're getting more specific. Yeah. If a transgender, I don't know how they call it, but a male thinks that he's a female and he goes to a male bathroom and they're all guys and he's wearing a dress and putting a makeup, I would think that would give that person a very uncomfortable feeling.
I get but let me just quickly correct you that if it's a trans woman, then you refer to her as a she.
Okay, trans woman.
It's fine. We all learn. This is how we learn, man. Don't worry about it.
But to me, it's Ben Shapiro. He refused to even call him that. I think this is an ongoing controversy, but I do understand your point that person who is dressed up like a girl would feel very uncomfortable with macho guys around there washing their face or whatever or doing their thing.
Yeah.
So that is a good point. But okay, so so that's why you did disagree with her on that. What were there other issues that you disagree?
And in general, I don't think you could tell a Democratic club to endorse a Republican.
I got you. So on there that was So that's why I didn't criticize. Some people were saying KDC is supposed to endorse Young Kim, and that's insane. You can never do that. You can never do that. I mean, there was a councilwoman in a certain city. She's a Democrat, but she got angry that the Republican, like Young Kim, didn't endorse her. But
on local level, exactly.
But that's still politics 101. You never endorse somebody. You can be personally friends with them and probably support them indirectly, but you can't just publicly endorse them. I mean, that means a political suicide, right?
Yeah.
You agree on that.
Another big reason why we support Gil Cisneros is because, it's an historic opportunity to take back the House. So for us to enter into the next congressional session, having taken back the House, and if you look at Orange County now, it's almost all blue. It is all blue. So that in itself was a reason why you need to get involved and help flip the House.
He spent around more than $10 million, right?
Was it $10 million? I haven't checked.
More than that. So I think even money-wise, Young Kim it was an uphill battle.
But parties outside came in and spent money too. It wasn't just their individual coffers.
$7 million, but it was still way under what Gil had. Gil had a lot of bullets. I mean, he won the lottery for $266 million. So he got them. Now he's rich. Now it seems like he might get into Congress.
Yeah.
And let's go to the East Coast.
New Jersey, my home state.
Andy Kim.
Yeah.
So, what was your takeaway for that?
It was an exciting race. I mean, he took out pretty much the architect of what's it called, the tax cut bill. And, And so, I'm sorry, McCarthy wanted to take the pre-existing conditions. He wanted to strip out, and so it was a historic race. I mean, he's from the area, born and raised. I mean, his kids were raised there too, and so. I mean, I don't know him all too well, but I met him briefly. But it's exciting to have him there. And New Jersey has a large Korean American population.
Yeah, and if you look at the Jersey district, I saw the races closely. It's like a sweep. The Democrats pretty much killed the Republicans all the way around. Probably only one seat is left there ever since World War II.
Yeah.
It happened. So it's like a blue wave there, at least. Not nationally, but in Jersey, it definitely was a.
To be fair, though, Jersey has been pretty progressive, though, even the Republicans there, because you have a lot of people who live and work, who live there but work in New York City or in Philadelphia.
The Republicans there are different.
You're right, and they're very different. And so I think
Maryland too.
Yeah, exactly.
They're Hogan.
I mean, if you think about Chris Christie before he joined the Trump administration, I mean, he was able to work with the Democrats when he was governor.
I mean, you have to. I mean, you're on the city, coast side.
So I think it's a trend that's going on in New Jersey, and so no, it's very exciting to see the first Korean American Democrat congressman.
So his policies is like he's for Obamacare, right? He's for Obamacare. And Medicare for all, right?
So I don't know too much about his policies. Obamacare, okay.
Obamacare revived, but his opponent wanted to pull out that
pre-existing conditions.
But that was even that is being against Trump. Trump wants to put pre-existing.
He's been talking. I know he's been public about wanting to preserve it
from the beginning. But I think the mainstream media doesn't want to give him credit about that. That's what I'm saying when I'm saying fake news. They don't say he has been saying pre-existing condition from day one, and I don't understand why people are just saying, oh, Trump is he is so against pre-existing.
Sure, I mean rhetoric is one, but also action by Congress is another.
He's trying to. He is trying to. Do a bill. It didn't go through last year because John McCain voted against it.
Yeah.
Probably now he has to do bipartisan bill.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Now with the Democrats in the House.
And I think Andy Kim came out. He did an interview last Wednesday when he announced that when he declared that he's a winner. He said that he will work with Trump. He will not be. He will never be a never Trumper.
Yeah, I remember him making that statement.
And he said that he wants to work with Trump regarding the medical bills being too high, the pills.
Yeah.
He wants to lower the
pharmaceuticals.
Those costs of it. Because America is like the most expensive in the world, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. So I think there might be some kind of agreements there. And how did you see the midterm election as a whole, nationally? Some states are still going on,
I think, it was a good sign. I think we did really well in the House. And some of the votes are still being counted. But I think it was, whether you're Democrat or Republican, the fact that we had this many people come out and vote, I think is tremendous. And I think it shows that people are paying attention and are concerned about politics. Politics is becoming real for folks. So I think that is encouraging. I'm encouraged that Democrats stick by the House.
It was expected, though.
No, you're right. You're right. It was expected, though. So, I think it's...
You had 39 Republicans retiring. Even the House Speaker, Paul Ryan, retiring. I never heard... Did you hear anything? And have you ever seen anything like this? The Republican president, you have a Republican president...
And then a retiring speaker.
I've never seen anything
I don't remember anything like that.
So I think it was expected. 39 Republicans retiring. And you had so many Democrats motivated at the same time. And it's hard. What I learned from this midterm was it is hard to be a newcomer and win off the bat.
Yeah.
Like even in Michigan, the Senate race, John James, Republicans are saying, the black candidate, they were really propping him up.
Okay.
And they said he's a superstar everywhere they go. And he seemed to have a star quality, but he couldn't make it. He did not win there, and even Beto
in Texas,
In Texas, it's very difficult to be a newcomer, a rookie, and just
the incumbent usually gets it,
off the bat. I mean, of course, it does happen. Like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In her case, she didn't happen, but that's a very rare case. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. No, I know the incumbent always has the advantage, whether it's the fundraising advantage or the infrastructure advantage. But these are the way the elections are. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Democrats now are part of the governing process, and so I think it'll be interesting to see how the Democrats navigate themselves with Trump on the helm as a president.
Exactly. So I talked with a lot of Democrats. Actually, most of my friends are Democrats.
Yeah.
You can't have a Republican.
Really?
I'm an independent here, so I try to level the field a little bit because it's so left here. It's really blue all the way around here, especially here in LA. Many of them were disappointed. They thought that it would be a blue wave, and they said you cannot say a blue wave when you can't take the Senate. Do you agree with that statement?
So when people say blue wave, I had wished we had taken more in the Senate. I'll be honest with you on that. Yeah. The issue I have with blue wave, there's two. One, there is a sense of inevitability built into that statement itself, and I think you have to work for it. You can't just expect it to come, and that creates complacency. That's my first issue. And the second thing is blue wave sounds different to everyone else, and so I never used it personally myself.
Okay.
And I'm just using it now in reference. But yeah, I have issue with using things as inevitable. It just takes hard work and campaigning to do it. And looking at the way with Gil's race or even Mimi Walters' race.
Mimi's gone now, right?
Yeah, exactly. But every vote counts. And so you need to work hard to get your votes out there.
Yeah. So you think Democrats kind of took it for granted that it's going to come naturally without even... They kind of I kind of got that feeling when the mainstream media kept saying, blue wave is coming, blue wave
maybe the media might have taken it for granted, but from the organizers and the people on the ground, the volunteers that worked on these campaigns did not take it for granted. Okay. They came out and hustled.
On the Senate election, which state kind of disappointed you the most? Florida or Georgia?
I mean,
Indiana?
To be honest, I was hoping in Florida.
Yeah, a lot of Democrats.
Yeah,
Florida.
But
not Texas, right? You didn't expect Texas.
For the governor's race, with
yeah.
Beto and
Were you expecting that one too?
To be honest, not so much, because I feel like Texas is pretty well established when it comes to the Republican Party.
They spent $78 million.
There was a lot of money spent in that race, and so especially when it's a lot of outside money, it becomes murkier and harder.
Mm-hmm.
So. But the Florida race was a little disappointing. The governor's race for Georgia was disappointing. But hey, look, I mean, we got to keep trying. So
yeah. And how about the Arizona? That was a good pickup there.
Oh, yeah, Cinema, yeah. That was exciting too, yeah.
She's a moderate, though. I saw her congressional record, and she seems to be very moderate. I mean, not like even lean left. It's like
for a state like Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, so I was kind of surprised. I thought McSally would win that one.
Yeah.
It seems like most of the VBMs, they all trend blue.
Traditionally.
Because they were all, they all had the Republicans ahead on election night. But as days goes by,
and you see similar. I mean, even in California, when election comes in, usually the more conservative candidate gets the lead.
Exactly.
And then when VBMs come in.
So Rick Scott, I think they did the recount. Automatic recount.
Okay.
And now they're saying they're going to do the hand count.
Okay.
And I think Rick Scott got that one.
Yeah.
I think Rick Scott got that one. And on the governor race, DeSantis beat Gillum, right?
Gillum.
They wanted to prop him to be the next Obama too, right?
Was that the framework?
Him and also Texas
Beto O'Rourke. Yeah. Well, there's rumors that
he might run for 2020.
Pitch for 2020. Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
Look, that would actually excite me, to be very honest with you. Beto O'Rourke for 2020.
He's like the anti-Trump. I mean, I saw his policy. Yeah. It's all completely 180 from what Trump is trying to do.
Yeah, and so I think we need some fresh faces in the Democratic Party. So I think, especially when it comes to candidates for the presidency. Okay. So
let's go back to the House. Do you want Nancy Pelosi as your next Speaker of the House?
I got to give Nancy Pelosi. I understand that there's some discontent amongst the party members, but she knows how to fundraise, she knows how to whip votes. And during the election, she even said to her fellow candidates that are running, don't worry about me and my speakership. You got to do what you got to do to win and run your elections. So I think she has a nuance to understand. However, though, I believe that the leadership should include more young blood and more fresh blood.
Yeah.
And so if that means having Nancy Pelosi or having someone beneath or within leadership, I think there needs to be more young blood that's in leadership, because right now it's been the same folks for the past decade.
Yeah, and some Democrats have been saying they're kind of tired of Nancy Pelosi, but I do agree. A lot of Democrat establishment people told me that she's a tremendous fundraiser.
Yeah.
I mean, she is like magical about how even the O'Rourke race, didn't she pour in a lot of money there?
Did she? Okay.
I mean, she somehow, I think she knows she has a lot of connections with these rich people in Northern California, these Silicon Valley people, and also Hollywood. So since she has a lot of connections there, she can bring money everywhere she goes. So and I think she has a lot of allies in the House and also the Senate. So.
I mean, the way our politics says is you need money to run, which this is just the way the game has been built, unfortunately. And so that clearly happens to be one of the values that we have.
Now it seems like she doesn't have enough votes. I think I'm going with the report that CNN came out with, and Trump kind of jokingly said, if she doesn't get the vote, we will vote her in to be the next speaker. That is kind of like a...
He's just trolling.
He's just trolling. Yeah. But what I do think is Nancy Pelosi is a figure that galvanizes Republicans. Do you see that too? Yeah,
she's on all the flyers. She's on all the ad attacks. Yeah.
So still you think she should be... I think she will be the speaker, but what do you think?
About...
I think she will be voted in.
Most likely she will be voted in.
There's not going to be anybody else.
I mean, from the news that I've seen so far, there's been some grumbling, but not enough to remove her from speakership.
Okay. And do you want to talk about your KDC
Club.
Is there any event coming up?
Yeah, I mean, so right now we're going to have a holiday party in December, so we'll make sure we let everyone know. But we'll have it. We just actually voted in our new 2019 board of directors.
Okay.
And so we'll be having our installation dinner in January. So I'll be sure to invite you.
All right.
So make sure you come out.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Well, that's our show for today. Our show is not about left or right. It's about right or wrong. To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking subscribe. Thanks for tuning in.